for some of you guys, this game it'll be easy to play. And some of you, it'll be a little complex. It'll be hard, but I really encourage you to play the game. You're not gonna play it now, but I want you to play it when you go home, or maybe even before you go home. Maybe you'll just sit in your chair at the end and just play this game until you come up with the answers necessary to win the game. So I was sitting with some friends. Well, not really friends. I'm in this group of guys, like these business leader dudes, and I'm the type of person, I want to be around, like whenever I have a group that I hang around on a regular, I want to be like the second least smartest and the brokest. Here's the thing, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need another group. So these dudes are doing big stuff business-wise, Christian, like just some great people, right? And we're just kicking it at this, we're eating food and kicking it, and then somehow we got on the subjects of fathers. And they started talking about their dads. And guy number one talked about how his dad was always on drugs. And when he was like 9 years old, his dad actually, 7 to 9 years old, his dad actually gave him some drugs. And then his dad would take him out and show him how to buy drugs at 9 years old. And you can feel the tension in the room building. Then the next guy, call him guy number 2, he speaks. He said, man, my dad, he always cheated on my mom. He said, I'd have to be there with my mom while she's crying, time after time. She's in tears crying. There's nothing I could do because she takes him back and he does it again. Then the third dude goes, and I'm like, so the third guy goes and he's like, man, my dad, he said his dad remarried a woman who had a special needs child. And instead of them taking care of the child, they put it on him to take care of the child. And he just had disdain for his dad because he didn't get to have a childhood. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to him and I'm like, man, snap. Okay. And I come up with this idea in the moment. I said, hey, you guys are blaming your dad for a lot of stuff. And I got some stuff I could blame my dad too, but let's do it a little different. Let's reblame. Let's call this the reblame game because we're really good at blaming our dads for stuff that they did wrong. But what if we did the reblame game and blamed them for stuff that they did that actually helped us, whether they're aware of it or not? I'll go first. I said, I blame my dad because now I look forward to cutting my son's hair because we laugh every time. I couldn't have that experience with my son if not for the experience I had with my dad. And I explained that to him, and then the guy in the middle whose dad kept cheating on his mom. It was quiet for a good 3 minutes. Then he spoke up. He said, I never thought about this before. He said, but I blame my dad for the fact that under no circumstance would I ever, he'd been married for 32 years or so. He said, I've never, ever even remotely considered cheating on my wife, ever. Because I saw how much it would hurt my mom, and I can't put my wife through that. I blame my dad that I'm that type of husband. And I'm getting chills at this point. So then the guy who had to raise a special needs sibling spoke up. And he couldn't figure it out at first. And then I had to tell him, I said to him, hey, so, he said, I don't know what my dad has done good for me. I don't got anything. I said, so tell me about your business again. He was like, what do you mean? Because he owns a bunch of nursing homes. And he trains people how to take care of special needs. I'm like, so what do? And you could just see the light bulb go off like bling. He said, oh, it never dawned on him. The reason he is so good at what he does is because his dad put him in a position where he could love people in that way, and now he does it on a mass scale. And this dude starts to tear up. I'm tearing up. We all tearing up at the table. I wanted to start talking about football, but I didn't want to lose the moment. Then the guy whose dad gave him drugs when he was 9 years old and would sell drugs with him, and then his dad had died like 2 years earlier, and he was hot, livid. Couldn't stand he couldn't stand his dad at all. I was like, yo, one of the billionaires, because all of them was like billionaires. Well, two of them. He said to him, he said, so what about you, man? How do you re-blame your dad? He said, I got nothing, man. My dad gave me drugs. You want me to come up with something good that he did? And he was getting a little upset. He pulled away from the table. I said, oh, dude, it's a game. You can play it, whatever. And I know this dude is super competitive. I was like, that's okay, man. If you just lost the game, it's okay. And then he's mad. You can see the little jaw muscles flexing. He ain't even had no jaw muscles before. I'm like, where does this stuff come from? So I asked him, I said, have you ever done drugs? He said, well, my dad gave me drugs. I said, other than that, as an adult, have you ever done drugs? He said, I smoked weed one time. I said, so let me get this right. How many businesses have you had? He said 9. I said, so how many of them have gone bankrupt? None of them. He built a business, he dug in, and then he would sell the business and make a profit. 9 businesses so far, and all of them sold for multiple millions of dollars. I said, I know this about you, because when you start something, you go all in. He's like, that's right. I said, but you started weed. You started drugs. And you could see his shoulders just drop. And he said, I blame my dad. The drugs are not a part of my life, and they never will be. See, God will use anyone. God has used your father to get you to where you are, your earthly father. You can't have a perfect dad. Your dad here on earth cannot be perfect because you already got a perfect father. You already have one. So listen, I want you guys to play this game. I want you to do the math, because for years, some of you watching online, the other campuses, for years you've been blaming your dad for stuff. He can't do this, he never did this, he wasn't there for me. Listen, why is it that you are at all of your kids' games? Why are you such an amazing dad? Is it because your dad wasn't there at all?